Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain Satan's slave. After dying from a strange illness that she suffered for 3 years, a mother returns home to pick up her children. How scary is the return of the mother? Let's find out in Satan's slave. Satan's slave tells the story of a girl named Rini who must be willing to give up college to take care of her seriously ill mother. Due to economic difficulties, Rini's family had to move to her grandmother's house on the outskirts of Jakarta. Marwani Suwano, Rini's mother, has been seriously ill since 3 years ago, where she could only lie weakly in bed. Even Marwani can't speak and uses a bell to signal assistance. In this house, Rini also lives with her wheelchair user grandmother Ramaseta, her father, Bari, and her 3 younger brothers, 16-year-old Tony, 10-year-old Bondi, and 6-year-old Ian, who couldn't speak. Set in the year 1981, Rini was discussing the financial problems her family was going through with her father. They have made various efforts to get money for the treatment of Marwani. Rini even tried to ask for royalties from the management because her mother was a famous singer. But because Marwani's career has long faded, and she has also retired from her singing career, Rini can only swallow disappointment when the management refuses her request. On the other hand, Tony took the initiative to sell his motorbike and some personal items to help pay for his mother's medical expenses. Tony loves his mother very much and always combs her hair before going to bed. One night, while combing his mother's hair, Tony found that his mother's hair was starting to fall out badly, which worried him. After Tony returned to his room, Bari came to his wife's room and said something. Rini caught her father, but she could not hear her father's words clearly. In the middle of the night, Rini woke up when she heard the sound of a bell ringing by her mother. She immediately rushed to her mother's room. Arriving there, Rini saw her mother standing facing the window. Rini, surprised because her mother could get up and stand up, then approached her. But after being approached, Marwani suddenly collapsed and was unconscious. Rini was shocked and then called her father for help. Hearing his daughter's screams, Bari rushed over to check on Marwani. Because he did not feel a pulse at all, Bari then stated that Marwani had died. The family immediately prepared for Marwani's funeral procession with the help of an Ustadz or a religious teacher. Rini then got acquainted with Hendra, Ustad's son, who also helped her family take care of her mother's funeral. After his wife's funeral, Bari decided to go to the city to mortgage their house and look for work. The death of their mother and their father's departure to the city became the beginning of a nightmare that must be experienced by Tony and his brothers. They began to be haunted by the appearance of a figure who resembled their late mother. That night, while listening to the radio in his room, Tony was startled by the radio channel changing itself and humming the song Kelem Malam, which is the song sung by his mother. Shortly after, Tony was visited by the spirit of his mother, who asked him to comb her hair. Meanwhile, Bondi and Ian are haunted by their mother's spirit when they have to pass through the hallway of the house where there is a scary-looking painting of Marwani. The ghost then left to coincide with the arrival of Rini, who rushed to help Bondi and Ian. On the other hand, the grandmother looks scared while writing a letter in her room. The next day, Tony buried his mother's belongings in hopes that his mother would not haunt him again. Meanwhile, when he meets Rini on the street, Hendra reveals that he saw a figure similar to Marwani in his window. Hendra then told Rini that something else had assumed Marwani's form and was not actually her mother, which was probably a bad sign. Hendra, who is worried about Rini and her family's safety, suggests she move out of the house and stay at his house for a while. But Rini politely refused Hendra's suggestion and decided to stay at her grandmother's house until her father returned from the city. Arriving at the house, Rini was surprised by Bondi's screams saying that her grandmother had fallen into the well. Rini was shocked when she found out that her grandmother had died. Rini and her brothers were forced to bury their grandmother without their father's presence. After the funeral, Rini went to her grandmother's room and found an envelope containing a letter addressed to a man named Budaman. Rini then plans to deliver the letter directly to the intended address, accompanied by Hendra. Arriving at the address, Rini and Hendra were greeted by Budaman, who admitted that he was a close friend of Rini's grandmother. Budaman revealed that her grandmother disapproved of Bari and Marwani's marriage because Marwani could not have children. However, after Rini and her brothers were born, Marwani's relationship with her mother-in-law improved. Even so, Rini's grandmother thought that Marwani had made a pact with the devil to have children. Budaman then gave him a booklet in which there was an article about a satanic sect written by himself. After that, Rini and Hendra went home. After the death of his grandmother, Bondi, who was still in shock because he saw his grandmother's body when it drowned in the well, often received strange whispers telling him to kill his younger brother, Ian. On the other hand, Ian is often haunted by the spirit of his grandmother, who keeps trying to hurt him as if he wants to kill himself. The next day, Tony, who had read the article about satanic sects in the booklet provided by Budaman, revealed to Rini that their mother was part of a satanic sect. According to the article, satanic cults often target people who have trouble having children, and when they join the sect, they will have children soon. The article also explains that the condition for having offspring is to give up the last child to the sect when the child reaches the age of 7. Tony then expressed his concern to Rini because Ian, their youngest brother, would turn 7 years old in 3 days. But Rini completely ignored Tony's words about the devil-worshipping sect. While preparing food for her brothers, Rini saw the appearance of her grandmother in the mirror. She then asked Mr. Ustadz for help to pray for their house to not be haunted again. Mr. Ustadz advised Rini and her brothers to pray for God's protection. Rini followed Mr. Ustadz's advice in the evening and prepared to pray. But when she was praying, she was constantly disturbed by the appearance of her mother's ghost, which made her very scared. She immediately took her brothers to Mr. Ustadz's house for shelter. The next day, Tony and Rini again discussed the article on the satanic sect. According to the article, Tony revealed that women who desire children and join a satanic cult are not impregnated by their husbands but will be impregnated by male members of the sect. Tony also realized that their faces did not resemble each other, not even their father. Hendra then came and told him that Budaman had called and asked Rini to come to his house because there was something important. Because Rini had to take care of her brothers, Hendra went to Budaman's house alone. Arriving at Budaman's house, Hendra was given an envelope containing his last writing, which had not been published in the article. After that, Budaman whispered something into Hendra's ear about the dark past of the Rini family. Shortly after Hendra returned home, Budaman was approached by someone who forced his way into his house. He felt that his safety was threatened because of his involvement with the Marwani family. While on his way home, Hendra had an accident and was crushed to death by a truck. When his body was brought home, Rini accidentally found a letter from Budaman that Hendra was about to give her. After Hendra's funeral, Rini is haunted by Hendra's ghost, who tries to pull her out of the house. Mr. Ustadz, who saw this, was silent as if he no longer wanted to deal with Rini's family, which had caused his son's death. Not long after, Bari came to Mr. Ustadz's house and took his children home. Bari was devastated by the sudden death of his mother. Rini then asks about what Bari said to her mother on the night of her death, because she heard him telling her mother to die quickly so as not to make life difficult for their children. But Bari argued that he did all this because he wanted to protect his children. In the middle of the night, while urinating, Ian was suddenly pulled by the spirit of his grandmother into the well. Luckily, Bari swiftly jumped into the well and saved his son. Not long after that, a crowd of people dressed in black, carrying umbrellas of the same color, surrounded the house. They are members of a devil worship sect. The devil's servants tried to take Ian, but Bari then left the house and shouted at the people that he would never give up his children to anyone. The Satanists then sow the seeds in the yard around the house. After that, Bari and his children began experiencing poltergeist incidents in their home, forcing them to hide in a room. The grandmother's spirit tries to pull Ian away, but Bondi rushes to save his brother. After the family gathered, the demon worshippers left and the situation at home was calm again. The next day, precisely 1 day before Ian's 7th birthday, Bari and his children decided to move into an apartment. After packing all their things, they waited for a pickup car to take them to their new place of residence. However, until late afternoon, the car never came. In the afternoon, Mr. Ustadz came to visit to apologize for being unable to help Bari and his family recently. Mr. Ustadz then decided to accompany Bari and his family until their pickup car arrived. Bari then suggested Rini and Tony to rest in the room, while he chatted with Mr. Ustadz. Rini then remembered the letter that had fallen from Hendra's pocket, in which the letter contained the latest article corrected by Budaman. Rini immediately woke Tony up and told him what was written in the article. The article states that the last child will be taken by a satanic sect, not for sacrifice, but because the child is Satan's offspring. Rini then concluded that the grandmother's spirit had tried to kill Ian all this time because she already knew about Ian's identity and tried to protect them. Rini then said that the arrival of the servants of the devil yesterday was not to take Ian, but to signal the undead who would come to pick up Ian on his 7th birthday at midnight that night. Not long after the sound of a bell, Rini and Tony saw the apparition of their mother's spirit that went up to the top floor. Meanwhile, Bari, who was resting in his room, was also haunted by his wife's spirit. On the other hand, Bondi woke up and saw Ian, who was standing facing the window chatting. When asked, Ian said that he was chatting with his friends, whereas Ian could not speak all this time and the figure Ian spoke to was a spirit creature. After that, Ian left Bondi while giggling. The frightened Bondi then approached his siblings. At the same time, they saw the undead rise from the grave and begin to surround the house. When Bari and his children were about to hide, they saw Mr. Ustadz being killed by the undead who tried to break into the house. Bari tried to catch up to Ian, who was walking towards his mother's undead corpse in the backyard, with dozens more undead behind them. But Tony immediately pulled his father back because he would not survive if he tried to bring Ian back. After Ian had been picked up, the undead immediately attacked them. Bari and his children tried to save themselves by hiding in the house, and it was seen that the grandmother's spirit was trying to protect them by preventing the arrival of the undead from the back door. Not long after, Budaman came to the house in a van and immediately took Bari and his children away from the house. 1 year later, Rini and her family, who now live in an apartment, were approached by a woman who was their neighbor. The woman gave a basket of food to Rini and her family with a friendly attitude. After that, the woman then returned to her house and chatted with her husband named Batara. It was revealed that the woman was Dharmana, the head of the satanic service sect who had plunged Marwani and her family. Dharmana and Batara are the leaders of a satanic sect whose members are spread throughout Indonesia.